Welcome to Just Break Up, the podcast about love, heartbreak, and all the relationship advice you don't want to hear. My name is Sierra DeMulder.
And I'm Sam Blackwell. And today we're going to answer a letter from somebody who is wondering how to trust men after being betrayed by yet another one. But before we begin, we just want to give you our Surgeon General's warning, which is that Sierra and I are not licensed mental health practitioners.
Yet another one. I'm still laughing at that. Yet another one. Yes, Sam and I are not professionals. We are not trained by anyone or in any of this. So please take our advice as you see fit. We're only here to offer our humble musings to hopefully shed some understanding and maybe some laughs about the incredibly rewarding but mostly confusing experience that is love. All right, today's letter is coming to us from Untrustworthy Turtle, whose pronouns are she, her, who is writing to us from locked away inside my own untrustworthy shell. Trigger warning for this letter, mentions of sexual assault. I'm not really sure where to begin with this. Maybe I'm just really hurt and angry and in pain, and this is all feeling more intense because it's all mixing together in my nervous system, but I'm not sure I can find it in myself to trust again. I was dumped by my ex, he, him, for his really shitty friend couple, Layla, she, her, and Jace, he, him. In the same week, I discovered that he had been hiding a secret relationship with Layla, as well as came to the realization that my intense discomfort and anxiety with Jace was based on a repressed memory of him sexually assaulting me months earlier. I put up a boundary and said that we would not be continuing to date if he stayed in contact with them. And at first, he graciously and apologetically agreed and blocked them both. The next morning, he dumped me. He swore it had nothing to do with my boundary, but also said that he was uncomfortable cutting them out of his life because, quote, they were the only people who could make him happy. For the following weeks, he is hanging out constantly with my SAer. Fed up, I tweeted, how dumb of me for missing my ex while he is besties with the guy who sexually assaulted me. It was petty, I know, but I have all of 5 followers that are all bots. He found it and texted me, upset that I would, quote, paint him like that when he had no idea. He claimed that he, quote, misunderstood my graphic retelling of what Jace did to me a few months prior and was just confused. After our conversation, he swore that he would stop hanging out with him. And he did, really, but apparently not, because Jace is a horrible person. And lo and behold, that same week, Layla and Jace broke up, and my ex and Layla started dating. So my ex left me for another woman and only stopped talking to the man who assaulted me because he stole the man's girlfriend. My ex and I had a good relationship for 3 years. We were solid, had future plans and goals, and he loved me so well and helped me heal a lot of wounds from my previous trauma. Within a month of meeting and hanging out with this other couple, he changed into a person I didn't recognize. That's terrifying and gaslighty and unbelievable. I've gone through texts, analyzed conversations, interactions, everything looking for clues of this behavior prior and could not find nothing until he met them. It's not just me. My friends, family, and everyone in my life knew him were shocked. Before my most recent ex, I was engaged to a man who abused me for years. After our very public breakup, a good amount of our friends, primarily men, chose to side with him because he, quote, just didn't seem like the kind of person to do that. Even some friends who he admitted the behavior to at first hand still chose to befriend him despite it because, quote, everyone makes mistakes. And now, earlier this week, we as a nation decided to overlook a man's immense moral failings, sex crimes, and offenses to elect him into the highest position of power. Ugh, that's a hard sentence to say out loud. I'm so tired. I can't find it in me to trust people anymore. The idea of finding someone and tying myself to them for the rest of my life, knowing that they could change into a horrible person without warning, is nauseating. How am I supposed to trust anyone anymore? If I can't trust people, am I supposed to just be single for the rest of my life? I just don't know how to find the courage to even look forward to a future of happiness with the love that I used to dream of, much less have the nerve to attempt to open myself up to people. After all of the constant reminders that men truly don't care about women or their experiences unless it benefits them in some way, how am I supposed to trust one again? Oh, and unfortunately, I'm straight. And I'm sorry for how anti-men this is coming across. I'm just finding it really hard to process things with men right now.
Thank you for writing to us and trusting us with all of the things that you are grappling with in this moment. You know, I want to say that I'm so sorry that you were sexually assaulted by Jace. I'm so sorry that your partner broke up with you to be friends with those people. And I'm so sorry that, you know, we're in this place right now where we have elected a terrible person to be our president, and that it feels like we're moving through the world not knowing who to trust because, you know, a large segment of this country, you know, decided to vote for somebody who, like you said, has moral failings, sex crimes, tons of offenses, and, you know, spews vitriol about the people that we love in many ways. You know, I think that this is just a really difficult moment for us collectively, and it sounds like it's also a really difficult moment for you in your personal life. And I'm sorry that those two things are colliding, and it's making you feel like you can't trust people, and specifically that you can't trust men. I think that your lack of trust in this moment is understandable, given the ways that your trust has been betrayed by not just the people in your life, but also by, you know, lots of people in this country in this particular moment. So I'm sorry that this is all happening. You know, I don't know that I know that Sierra and I are not going to be in a place where we're just like, yeah, what are you doing? You should trust everyone. Because I think that the two of us are also feeling pretty mistrustful of the people that maybe surround us in this particular moment. And we also have to find a way to move forward, right? That's the only option that we have available to us. So we're going to offer a lot of commiseration and a lot of understanding. And I think the two of us are going to also think about what does it look like for us to find a way to move towards something that's going to affirm and support us in a meaningful way. So we will do that in just a second. Right now, we're going to take a quick break.
All right, my friends, welcome back. Yeah, I feel a little confused about what I want to say right now. Not because I have nothing to say, but because how strong the through line is between the letter writer's breakup, between the election, between my lived experience, between the lived experience of so many people I know, when it comes to this chronic and collective mistrust and disappointment that we feel when we ask our loved ones and our community members to believe us or trust us, you know, to make choices over our bodies, or that we put our faith in people to help protect us and then to be disappointed. I think there is this, it's so recognizable, this fatigue that the letter writer is talking about when it comes to, and again, these are blanket statements, right? But, you know, historically, the abuse perpetrated by men and masculinity in our culture against women and non-binary and other minorities, you know what I mean? Like, there's fatigue, you know, and I know that's felt by so many different communities that are subjugated in ways and have been oppressed in a myriad of ways for thousands of years. It's fatigue, you know, it's there's a secondary trauma to it too, right? About having our president be like a convicted rapist, you know, like I am tired, you know, I'm tired of getting letters like this. Ugh. It's so fucking funny. The week of the election, Sam and I recorded a Patreon episode just checking in and being like, this is our response and these are our loved ones' response and here are how we're supporting people. And I was like, I'm just stoically angry. Like I don't have the energy to be anything else but like disassociating from Earth and like when I go when I've gone through really traumatic things in my life, I get really stoic. I get stone cold. I don't cry or whatever. But right now I just feel so tired. I feel tired, and I feel tired for this letter writer. And it's just so relatable. It's just so relatable. And I think that's what like makes my empathy gates break and flood me, you know? Yeah. So to the letter writer, like I'm holding your hand and I'm saying like, I'm tired too. I see how exhausting this is and terrifying. And as like your community member and your kin, like I am going to ask you to trust again, but I'm not going to do it, without acknowledging how scary the world can be and how disappointing and hurtful people can be and how this is a pattern. We know that people don't give a fuck. You know, we know that certain people have been taught to not care about, to not believe what we say unless it positively impacts them, as you say. So, yeah, I'm kind of rambling at this point right now, but I feel like I want to hold your hand and say like, I am tired too. And let's name the perpetrator here. Let's name who hurt you and how exhausting it is to be so repeatedly hurt and to be forced to be like on edge and mistrustful. I know that it feels like all men hurt you and disappoint you, right? And I know that it feels like trusting this man is what hurt you. But building a life with this man, being vulnerable to him, creating future plans and goals, and allowing him to love you really well and healing from that love, that isn't what hurt you. What hurt you is how this man changed. And the terrifying fact of the universe is that everything changes. Everyone you will ever date will change over time. Will they change into someone unrecognizable like this? No, this is an outlier, right? Are we going to change? Yes, we all change. And if we don't change, we stand still and we die, right? That happens in nature. That happens in relationships. So I can't hold your hand and look you in the face and lie to you and say, you're going to meet somebody who won't change on you. That's not true. That's not how that's not how I entered my marriage. I entered my marriage saying, I'm marrying you knowing that you're going to change and hopefully we're going to grow together. But the way that this man changed, the way that he shifted, even your loved ones are echoing this. This is abnormal, that this is an outlier. This is a unique and horribly painful situation. It is not the blueprint of how people are meant to grow and change, right? And again, like I said, the unfortunate and terrifying fact of the universe is that everything changes and we can't control that change. We can't anticipate it. And so, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm a shitty relationship co-host right now because what I want to say to you is I cannot guarantee you that you won't be disappointed by another man. I cannot guarantee you that. And maybe the best thing I can say right now is that if you want to take a break from putting your battered and untrusting, tender heart out there, that makes a lot of fucking sense to me. I think a lot of people across this country right now are feeling like withdrawing their hope and withdrawing their trust because it doesn't feel safe to put it out there anymore. You know what I mean? A lot of people are being proactive about making choices over their body and about their gender affirming care and about their access to abortion pills now because they don't trust the world to put it out there. You know what I mean? And that's a reasonable response. But I want you to have fulfilling, connected relationships with anybody in the future. You deserve that. People deserve other people. And in order to do that, tragically, my friend, in order to do that, we have to roll our tender bellies up to them, right? We need to expose our softness to them. We need to risk being disappointed by them in order to truly connect. And ain't that the shit, right? Ain't that the shit, since we've been taught our whole life that we will be abused and disappointed by traditionally men in this situation, but anybody.
No, I wholeheartedly agree with all of that. And I also want to create the space for recognition that there are cis straight men out there who are doing the work to recognize the ways in which their own masculinity, what they've learned about their power over people is, and to challenge that and try and live in deeper and more authentic relationship with the people in their lives, right? And I'm not saying this is a way to excuse the terrible behavior of lots and lots of men out there. In fact, I'm saying that as a way to hold those men accountable, to say, you are capable of doing something different and you're choosing not to, right? Look at the people in our lives. Look at these straight cis men in our lives who are trying to do better, who are recognizing the ways in which their identity, the people who share identity with them, are enacting harm on others and saying, that's not good. That's not for me. I want to do something different. Because I think sometimes when we do this, like this blanket sort of black and white thinking about people, we actually do ourselves harm because we don't create the space for the idea that they are capable of doing something different, right? We let them off the hook. If we're just like, all men are terrible, then great. Men get to act terribly because that's what we expect of them, right? And I think that there's something to be said about finding those people in your life. And I want to think about like actual real people in your life who are straight cis men who are actually doing things that are challenging their own understanding of the world, their own sort of power that they hold over people, and are actually showing up. And I want you to think about those men when you are having these feelings of all men are terrible, all men are awful, not so that we diminish the fact that men are generally terrible, right? Like, not to disrupt that, but to hold the truth of the idea that men are capable of doing something different, right? And in fact, some of them are, which is beautiful and wonderful, but also by recognizing that we can hold all men accountable to doing something different, because we can say, you can do it. Look at these people. Look at these wonderful people who have shared my values, who are doing the work that needs to be done in order to live a different life. And those people exist. I know them. I know some of them, right? I don't think that they're the people in power currently, right? Like, they're certainly not the people that voted for Trump, I'll tell you that, but they do exist, right? They are in our lives. And when we get in this place of like polarization where we're incapable of trusting people, right? Sometimes it helps to find those people where we can say, we share something together, despite the difference that we have, right? We have this thing in common. We're working towards some of the same goals, and that can help us build trust with them in a meaningful way. Not that I need you to trust all men, because I don't need you to. I don't, certainly. Like, especially now, especially walking around my neighborhood, I keep passing these like older white dudes, and I'm like, who did you vote for? Am I safe walking down the street with you here, right? Like, this is the moment that we're currently in, and it's so challenging. And I have to hold space for the lovely people in my life who are wonderful and kind and treating people well and doing the right things, donating to causes, like having conversations with their friends, right? Like doing the things that need to be done in order to shift the way that people operate. Is it like, again, I'm really not trying to say like, trust all men, they're fine, because don't do that. But the ones where you can build that relationship, the ones who you see doing the work, right? They are people who are trustworthy, right? They're people that we can see and say, we're on the same team. We're working towards the same goals. And I know that it's hard to see that right now, because I am with you on that. And, we deserve it to be able to look at people and try and see them in their complexity and in the important work that they're doing for themselves.
And I'm realizing now in this moment, especially with the timing of this letter and the election and your heartbreak, like this is compounded trauma, and compounded trauma is why we are led to say sweeping generalization statements like all men are evil or, you know, like we can't trust any men. And that is an explanation and not a defense of that statement, because again, I said in Monday's episode, like I'm trying to stop participating in language like that because I'm trying to create a world in which that's not the standard. You know what I mean? I'm trying to create the world in which the standard is I expect my male friends to be able to be emotionally available, you know, aware of their privilege, aware of their power, you know, everything that would take to dismantle these systems of power that we've been talking about this whole episode. But when you have a betrayal like this breakup didn't happen because your boyfriend or your ex was a shitty, untrustworthy trademark man, you know. It's because he went through this weird life change and turned into a different person, and your relationship no longer aligned with the person he is. Is that hurtful? Yes. Is that painful? Incredibly so. Does that make you question every single time you trusted him? Absolutely. And then to have his betrayal of you, right? To have him hanging out with the person who assaulted you. Does that trigger every like trauma response in you as a woman and as a survivor of like, oh my God, nobody's going to fucking believe me. This love of my life can't even stand by me. Like what an extreme act of behavior. And then to have the election happen that week or whenever it happened, right? And have however many 71 million or whatever people vote for a convicted felon who sexually assaulted how many people. It is the compound of that all makes us, like you said in your letter, makes it sound really anti-men. And we can recognize the core wound that is causing all of that, right? It's the patriarchy. It's the repeated messaging we receive, particularly as women, right, about men's position in the world and their power and rape culture and all of these things. And we're also capable at the same time of saying, okay, I'm feeling a lot is coming at me right now. I'm processing the election. I'm processing the revelation of this sexual assault. I'm processing the betrayal of my ex, both in the way that he didn't support me in the assault, and he changed and he left me, and that has left your world feeling so upside down and so vulnerable. And when you're ready, not right now, you can stay angry, you can stay wherever you need to be until you feel ready, right? But when you're ready, you can say, I know that he is not, that this is not a guarantee of all people, of all relationships, of all men. I know that I'm feeling particularly triggered and exhausted and tired right now because of everything happening in the world. And that there are other narratives out there. There are people who are actively trying to fight against this. Is it exhausting? Yes. Is it compounding? Yes. Is it fair? Never. It's never been fucking fair. It's never been fair. And that's nothing I'm ever going to expect you to feel. I'm just even having this revelation, you know, like because of the compounded nature of everything right now, that's why we jump to those big statements. Because it feels like, yeah, how am I ever going to trust a man again? I'm going to paint you a very, very, very vague, delicate portrait that you can just fold up into the tiniest little folded crane or whatever, or the letter, and you can tuck it in your pocket. And I want you to save it for later, for when you feel ready to open it and believe in it again. You don't have to believe it right now. You can fold it up. You can crumple it up into like a ball and stuff it away until you're ready. But this is what I'm going to paint you a picture of. This is how you're going to trust a man again. You're going to meet one who is kind and gentle and honest and open, and he's going to know how to say he's sorry, and he's going to know how to make you feel safe, and he's going to know how to tell you when he doesn't feel safe, and he's going to be able to talk to you about all the ways in which the patriarchy has taught him to be terrible, and how he sees it everywhere, and how he fights against it actively in his own body, in his relationships, in his friendships, in his family. And he's going to talk to you about all the things that he's learning, because we're all unlearning this shit. We are all unlearning what does it mean to be in our bodies, in our gender identity, in this world, right? And he's going to be a great kisser, and he's going to make mistakes like you are, and he's going to grow and change like you do and like you will, and hopefully you're going to grow and change together, right? That is going to happen. I know it will. I know it will. When you're ready, you can unfold this letter, and you can look at that picture and believe in it again. But you don't have to do it right now. You can be angry. Yep. You can protect yourself as much as you need right now, because we're in that anger with you.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's important to also remember that, I think in times of fear and in times of, disruption, our initial instincts often is to withdraw, right? To say, I'm safer alone. It's better if I'm by myself. I don't want to be around other people because I can't trust them. And I also want to say that that is white supremacy. That is patriarchy talking. And I think it's important for us to remember that actually we are safer when we extend ourselves to others, right? We are safer when we create groups of people who love and support and care for each other. We're safer when we actually find connection with people and organize and support and do what we need to do in order to make sure that we can get to whatever the next iteration of our work and our world look like. And so I totally understand the impulse to withdraw, and I deeply relate to it. And I want to remind you that you are somebody who needs other people, right? You need connection with people. You need to find the folks who are going to be able to love and support and hold you in this. And I don't think that has to come from a romantic relationship with a cis straight man, right? It can come from other places. It can come from your friendships. It can come from, community organizations that you can get involved with. It can come from, being out in community with people. And I think it's important to remember, especially in this moment where I feel like a lot of us might be pulling back to say, I can't trust anyone. How am I supposed to move through the world not knowing what other people are thinking or doing? Is that actually the balm to that is not withdrawing, right? The balm to this feeling of fear that we're having, this feeling of isolation and disconnection, is to actually find connection with people, to reach out to the people who we know are in agreement with us about how we want the world to look, and to find ways to build community that's going to be resilient enough to be able to withstand whatever is going to happen over the course of the next few years. And I think that in this moment, I'm going to call on all of us to continue to find community, to continue to recognize that we are more powerful together than we are separately, and that we're going to need to be able to weather this in broader community with lots of people in lots of different types of bodies, with lots of different skills or experiences, to be able to find a way to move forward into whatever iteration of the world that we hope to build, knowing that this is going to be a really challenging time for lots of us.
Yes. Yeah. We know this isn't easy, and we're here with you in the unease.
Absolutely.
We love you so much, and we're so glad you wrote us, and we hope that this helps.
Absolutely. We love you.
All right, everybody. It's Friday, which brings us to the blind date segment of the show. Every week, we like to shout out something that we love, that we want to set you up with. And this week, we are sending you home with
a Substack by my friend Alfred Walking Bull. Alfred is a good friend of mine, lives here in Minneapolis. Alfred is also a queer Indigenous person who is in recovery. And this Substack is just their reflections on things that, are happening in their life, or that are happening, more broadly. that are just often deeply profound and so helpful for me to read, especially in times when I'm feeling at my most sort of activated. And I think that what Alfred posted after the election about sort of the ways that grief comes into our bodies and the ways that we process it was actually super helpful for me to be able to hold for myself what I wanted and needed after getting the news of Donald Trump's reelection. And I just think that they're a deeply profound writer, and their experiences as being queer, Indigenous, and recovery, I think are really beneficial for me to kind of rewrite some of the ways that I think and feel about some of these big things that happen to us. So please check them out. Their Substack is called In Media Res with a Z, because it's a reservation joke. And their name is Alfred Walking Bull. So you can just Google them and I'm sure their Substack will come up. So go follow it, find it, go subscribe. I really appreciate whenever their name comes into my inbox to let me know that they've written something. So shouting them out today. That's our blind date. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. If you would like more content from us, or if you would like access to our monthly office hours, you can support us on Patreon. If you support us on Patreon for as little as $5 a month, you'll get an additional bonus weekly episode, as well as access to all of our back catalog of episodes. That's patreon.com/justbreakuppod.
You can slide into our DMs, send us your favorite relationship memes, but most importantly, you could submit your questions about all matters of the heart at justbreakuppod.com, which is also where you can find our merchandise.
Please remember to like, follow, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating and review. This literally keeps our mics on and helps us reach more brokenhearted souls who need two random strangers giving them relationship advice.
Just Break Up is a production of Duvid Media, original music, recording, editing, producing, all magical things by our good friend Spencer Worth Davis. Make sure to check out his podcast and his music. And remember...
That's all we need.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe a collective deep sigh or groan of exhaustion and a nod to the fact that we're all tired, but we're all still here.
That's
and
right.
We love you. And if all else fails,
just break up.